Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the agenda for October 7th. It's 5 o'clock and we'll call the meeting to order. Just a reminder that today's a committee meeting, so no motions this evening. We had an opportunity to look over the agenda. Councillor Gullickson?
No. There is no motion.
No, we still have to accept them. Yeah.
Okay. I move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Good. All those in favor? Thank you. So we'll be hearing from several community groups this evening. We've got a time schedule that follows the left-hand side of your agenda, and we'll do our best to stay within that time frame. And so first up, we've got Susan McDonald from FCSS, along with Pat Berg, and
Jody Bell.
Jody, thank you.
And Barb Lefrey.
Very good. To present for Lacombe District FCSS. The floor is yours.
There we go. We have power.
And then just the gray button on the front. The gray button on the front now. There you go.
There we go. Mayor Creasy and Council, thank you very much once again for the opportunity to present our 2020 FCSS budget and to provide you with some highlights from our 2019 year. So I'm going to start this evening with Jody. Jody is our chair of Lacombe District FCSS, and she's been in that position for, I think this is her 4th year. Jody sits on the board and she's actually a county resident. And then Barb, joining me here also this evening, is our interim transportation coordinator with the Connects. So we'll start with our FCSS presentation, which hopefully will take about 20 minutes, and we'll save 8 to 10 minutes at the end for the Connects presentation. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Jody to start things.
Thank you so much for having us here today. I hope you had a chance to review the 2019 report and the proposed 2020 budget that was provided. Susan and I will refer to this document throughout the presentation. And as you can see from the front cover, Lacombe District FCSS is coming up with a very impressive milestone this year, and we will be celebrating our 50 years of service in 2020. The agency has been supporting people and building community along the way. The staff and board look forward to sharing Lacombe FCSS's story throughout 2020. As a board and staff, we are proud to say that we stay true to our vision, mission, and our values statement as we remain focused on enhancing the social well-being of individuals, families, and our community through prevention. If someone asks what is FCSS and what does Lacombe FCSS do, the answer is FCSS changes lives in a positive way. Our preventative programs and services promote well-being, resilience, and active community participation. Research has shown for every $1 invested in preventative services, $7 to $12 in the future of spending is saved. Over the past year, 4,782 participants benefited from 34 Lacombe FCSS programs. We've had 596 volunteers contribute over 12,000 hours. FCSS also supports 63 meaningful jobs for skilled professionals across the agency. We are known as the go-to place for information and help. Our front desk answers an average of 756 inquiries each month. I am pleased to report in 2019, board and staff have taken a very active role in our strategic plan. We set priorities, committees were struck, and actions were completed. There were 3 high strategic priorities and actions were completed in our 3 goal areas. The first was effective governance. We did things such as creating policies and procedures to recognize donors. We did a 2019 wage review and proposed wage increases for a 2020 budget. We submitted several grant applications, and we also conducted an invitation to quote our FCSS audited statements. Under effective communication, we created a new FCS logo. We increased our social media presence, and this year we had our monthly board meetings feature a coordinator, which is our manager's presentation from them. Lacombe City satisfaction survey, and it indicated citizens know and value our programs. Effective service delivery. We developed a program review template, and all of our programs will be reviewed by December 2019. We wanted to focus on partnerships, and our review shows that we have 116 partnerships across our agency. We wanted to be active in community issues, and we were involved in the homelessness count, seniors coalition, and affordable housing projects. FCSS is for everyone. As you can see, we offer many programs and services to meet the needs of the community. We were able to do this through great partnerships, volunteerism, and community support. I'm going to highlight a couple of these programs. A new program was this fall was Opening Minds Through Art for those in our community living with dementia. It's an 8-week program where participants teamed up with an RDC nursing student and they create art pieces, and we're going to have an art exhibit and sale in November, and we're hoping the proceeds from that allow the program to continue. Our Community Outreach Financial Literacy Series is a 4-week lunch and learn program. Participants gain knowledge of effective financial management, and some of the feedback we heard, quote, "I learned to live within my means and still save and teach my children to do the same," end quote. So far in 2019, 446 income tax returns were filed by 5 dedicated volunteers. This is very critical, as a lot of our participants need notices of assessment to access many benefits that are available. We work in partnership with local elementary schools to offer the Rainbows program, which helps children who are dealing with loss or crisis such as separation or death in the family. Last year, our annual Christmas Fill a Fridge campaign, we assisted 616 individuals. That includes adults and children in the city and county. This program is fully funded by generous community donations from individuals, businesses, and groups. And this year was actually the first year where we had a shortfall in funding. Thankfully, we had a reserve available, but we're not sure about the future. The Central Parkland Parent Lake Network continues to thrive in all 5 locations. We have Lacombe, Black Falls, Ponoka, Rimbey, and Wetaskiwin. It's a place where families can connect to the community, meet new friends, and learn together. Our Lacombe location is in the LMC, and we average about 10 new families this month. And our numbers just came in for September, and we had 42 new families attend the program in September. The Fun in the Sun program was initiated by a group at Lacombe Composite High School about 4 years ago, and it's still growing. The weekly program promotes active recreational games at a local playground throughout the summer. One of the statements we heard from one of the children was, quote, "I want to volunteer when I'm older because the leaders are awesome and the activities are great," end quote. Volunteers are what make FCSS and our community a great place to be. Each year in April, we host a volunteer appreciation evening. Another one of our focuses was partnerships. So our agency is built on strong partnerships, and here's a list of some of the partnerships we have. And again, when we did the count, it was 116 partnerships across our agency. A few examples, I already discussed the Opening Minds Through Art within the community. This started off with a community recreation grant. Planning and coordination was done with our FCSS Seniors Coordinator, collaboration with Red Deer College students to volunteer with the seniors, and Connects is actually providing some of the transportation for the participants. And a great spin-off of this program is the caregivers bring their patients and they sit down at Anna Maria's Cafe and visit, which is great. Also, the 3rd Wednesday of every month, our Backyards Friends Community Dinner is at the LMC. Last month, there was 161 people attend, 25 volunteers prepared and served the meal with 61 volunteer hours in total. Before I turn it over to Susan, I do want to say how proud I am to be a part of this organization. I touched a bit on our strategic plan and how this year, how we had coordinators come in and discuss their programs with us. It was a great exercise and very eye-opening. The coordinators have such passion for helping people, and it makes me very proud to have FCSS in our community. One of the common themes we heard from these coordinators is how much they respect and admire Susan McDonald as their director. They all feel so supported, and it truly shows when they talk about what they do. We did a wage analysis this year, and it was hard for me to see some of the positions at FCSS quite below average compensation compared to other municipalities. I really hope that when the city goes through their budget deliberations, they consider the number of services that FCSS provides in the community compared to what I consider a small cost, and the staff that FCSS needs to retain and attract in order to provide these services. I'll turn it over to Susan now.
Okay. Just a little bit more on our highlights for 2019 before I get into the budget section. So some of the challenges and opportunities in 2019, of course, Connect comes to mind because at the beginning of the year we learned that our ridership with Wolf Creek School Division, the special needs students, they were no longer needing Connect's transportation. So that was a bit of an adjustment financially and then also with our Connect's program, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. We were involved in the Rural Homelessness Estimation Project in late 2018, and we don't have the provincial results, although we do have our Lacombe results. This year we hosted in April, we hosted a Crest Central Region Emergency Social Services Workshop, and we had folks come down from the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo. So that was great training for all of us, not just in Lacombe but across the region. We continue to work on the regional ESS plan. We were engaged in the City of Lacombe's Affordable Housing Needs Assessment, and one part of that, we hosted a workshop with local residents with lived experience. So that was quite enlightening and certainly was an important part of that housing needs assessment. We worked extensively on an Aging Well and Community grant application, which we were hoping to expand some of our services to seniors, but unfortunately we were declined on that one this year, but we'll keep trying with that. Our Healthy Families staff, they participated in quite extensive training program this year in order to adhere to provincial changes and new programs in that area. And new this fall, in the youth area, we'll be offering a home alone course along with our babysitting course. So a few of our highlights for 2019. As we move on to 2020, we've got an exciting year planned ahead as we will be celebrating our 50th anniversary of Lacombe FCSS with the community. We look forward to being part of the City of Lacombe's Social Development Plan. We would look forward to developing an occupational health and safety plan for the agency, for both staff and our many volunteers. Of course, we're always mindful of community needs and respond accordingly. We're involved with regional and provincial conversations on current social issues. This will be year 7 of the FCSS Community Grant Program with the City of Lacombe. We'll continue to work on the Regional Emergency Social Services Plan and also work on our strategic 2018-2020 strategic plan. So now moving on to the budget. So before you see the big picture, in FCSS, as you know, we're a big organization and we have many things many programs and services under our umbrella that fit within the FCSS mandate. They may not all be funded by FCSS funding, but we reach out and provide other services and other sources of funding. So I'll start at the top. The blue line is our FCSS eligible funded programs. So just $893,469,000 is our operational funds for FCSS. And when you received your budget, so basically it's this yellow piece. So the front cover of your budget when you refer to that later in your budget proceedings. So this top section of the budget, this is our base budget, and it includes a 1.4% increase for staff for COLA for 2020. It does not include the wage adjustment, it does not include the 50th anniversary or the FCSS grants. Those three things, the wage adjustment, 50th anniversary and FCS grant, that's kind of our TBA based on council decisions once you get into your budget deliberations. So that's the FCSS piece at the top. The next piece, purple, that's the FCSS eligible non-funded program. So that's we administer the Clyde FCSS program, and we also do a lifeline program. So those two things fall under that section of the budget. Going back up to the top part. So that includes things like our planning admin, senior services, home support, volunteer services, community development, youth services, healthy families development coordinator, and our community outreach program. And then moving down to the yellow block, so that's our non-FCSS eligible non-funded areas. So in that is a lot of the different projects and programs that we do for the community, a lot of these things will come in and be funded totally through community donations. So things like our Caring for Children Fund, our Fill a Fridge program, the transportation, so the Lacombe Connects with the city, our Early Years Matters Coalition, Benevolent Fund, Parent Enhancement, which is a funding that we provide for 3 rural playgroups, Mirror, Bentley, and Clyde, and then our 5 parent link centers. So those all fall within the non-FCSS, non-eligible. So we can't use FCSS dollars to fund those particular programs. So all in all, our budget is 2.2 or a little over $2.2 million. Okay, and we have many sources of revenue sources. Of course, we have our provincial or federal grants, we have provincial contracts, our arrangement with the City of Lacombe, County of Lacombe, fees for service, so that might apply for things like home support service, Meals on Wheels, etc. And then we have donations and funding that helps to offset those non-eligible, non-funded programs. We can use FCSS resources to plan and administer these programs, but we can't use FCSS dollars for direct support of those programs. Okay, moving on to the next graph. So before you is our 2020 FCSS funding request. So this is the piece, when we talk about FCS funding, it's a provincial agreement between the City of Lacombe and the Province of Alberta. So with this, the FCSS agreement, the base funding, 80% comes from the province, and the city must match by a minimum of 20%. So our agreement with the city's agreement with the province covers $397,393. So that's about half of what our operating budget is when if you remember back to the $893 that I had been talking about. So this year, we are asking the city, or in our graph it shows the 80% is the $317,914. The minimum percent that the city has to contribute, the 20%, that's your $79,479. Our additional operating expense, in the past the city has always contributed additional costs so that we are able to meet our FCSS operating budget. So that piece is $28,938. Now, moving forward in 2020, we will be celebrating our 50th anniversary. So we're asking for a one-time contribution of $10,000 for that. Our 50th anniversary budget is actually $15,000. I have in our FCSS application to Lacombe County, I've asked them for 25% of that. And why 25% is because we find that in all our FCSS programs, we have county clients probably average about 25 to 30% of participation in our program. So of the 15,000, we'll ask the county for 25% of that, and then as part of our 50th, we probably do a little fundraiser, and that will make up the other percentage of that 15,000. Then, as Jody referred, in 2019, we've just completed a wage review. And in the wage review, I'll talk about that a little bit further. But for year one, what we're looking at, we did a wage review and in 2019, and it shows that we are considerably, as far as our FCSS employees, our salaries are quite a bit lower than comparable FCSS departments in other municipal units. We're a little bit unique in that we're a non-profit organization, but the work and the service that we provide in the community is equal to what's happening in other communities as well. So the 48,948 is year one of a proposed wage increase. So our total city of Lacombe funding request for 2020 is $167,365. So the total piece in regards to the FCSS funding comes to a total of $485,279, which is about half of what our operating FCSS piece is. Down below, this shows you comparable FCSS municipal contributions of comparable communities. And again, it goes anywhere from your minimum contribution from municipal units of 20% all the way up to 67%. And these contributions, and I double checked on that today, it's what these communities are matching in dollars. It does not include resources or gifts in kind, those kinds of things. It's strictly dollars. Okay, so just so you have a bit of comparison. And then moving on, wage review, a little bit of background in that. For a number of years, we've been doing a wage review. We did one in 2015. We also did one in 2018. And last year, we did share that information with council and administration, city council and city administration. And it showed that we were, at that time, quite a bit lower than other municipal units comparable to us. So the direction from council and administration last year was there was no additional funding available for 2019, but we were encouraged to include a wage compensation request in 2020. So we're bringing that information forward for your review this year. So in preparing for our budget, the city of Lacombe did not do a comparative wage survey this year, but local communities, Stony Plain and Sylvan Lake did. Now those communities, they did a comprehensive wage study, and it probably reached out to about 20 different communities of comparable size to Lacombe. So we've used that information for our data, as well as we tried to match some of the city of Lacombe wage grid for some comparable positions. The FCSS were a little bit unique because there's no two of us that are the same. So it sometimes makes things a little bit difficult, and but with apples and oranges. So the majority of our 2019 FCSS wage rates were found to be considerably lower, below the mean and the median of the rates in the review. The compensation required to meet the rates of comparison communities is significant. The recommendation is to look at a 2-year budget goal to reach the median. The details outlining our current FCSS position, wages, and cost analysis, I've shared that with administration, and they have copies of all that data for your information. And this wage adjustment that we're requesting would encompass 18 positions across the agency. Okay? Our goals for our current budget year, established by the board, establish compensation goals for 2020, prepare wage comparison information based on 2019 surveys, maintain the COLA, which is at 1.4 based on the Alberta Consumer Price Index, adjust wages to meet median wage levels based on market surveys from comparable communities, and request additional municipal funding to meet that wage adjustment. Our overall goal as a board and as an agency is to look at a 2-year plan to increase wages to the median 15th percentile of market surveys of comparable communities, maintain salary levels by implementing our annual COLA based on the Alberta CPI, and explore the option of establishing a salary grid for FCSS employees. We currently do not have a salary grid because we've always been pretty baseline. So that's something that we'd like to work on over the next year. The salary compensation survey that we did does not include our parent link and our healthy family staff and programs. Okay, the next slide shows our FCSS Community Grant Program. So we'd be going into year 7 of this program. So basically what happens with that, the city provides us some funding to do external community grants for community groups that offer preventative social services programs. So each year the groups file with us or submit an application at the end of February. So in 2019, we provided some funds to Volunteer Link, Lifelong Learning for their Connect Parent group, Cozy Corner for special events, Youth Unlimited for Stepping Stones and their drop-in team program, Center for Peace and Justice, Conflict Resolution, and Big Brothers, Big Sisters, the mentoring program. I think overall we We gave out $31,500, but we had community grant request of for $57,000. So I know the group certainly appreciate the support that they received from the city and from the FCSS board in going through the applications and having these services available in our community to enhance what happens. Okay. So in closing, some budget notes, just as a snapshot here. So of course, each line, we do our very best to work on it line by line. We start this process back in August with our program coordinators. Now under the FCSS eligible funder programs, we're assuming that the provincial funding agreement will remain the same for 2020 at $397,393 as we laid out in that graph. FCSS eligible funded programs, our 2020 FCSS operational budget is $893,469, and we're showing an increase of $10,001, which is 1.14 compared to 2019 for our operational expenses. This includes a 1.4% COLA increase based on the Alberta CPI, increase in our benefits, new program initiatives, and operational expenses. We have proud to say we have many long-term employees, and our retention of employees is very high. The revenue is showing a decrease of $3,663 from 2019. Basically, that's a projected loss in some of our administration fees. City contribution for FCSS eligible. Just recapping, so in 2019, the city contributed $94,753, matching the provincial funding by 23.8%. 2020 funding request is $167,365, matching the provincial funding by 43%. Now, if we took that, that's about half of the budget. If we based it on the total 893,000 budget, it would be a little less than 20%. City of Lacombe's minimum 20 contribution, according to the FCSS agreement, is $79,479. Our operational increase is actually $13,664 from last year. And our 50th anniversary, this would be a one-time contribution of $10,000. And proposed wage increase year one be $48,948. The FCSS funding community grant program would be $35,000 for 2020 if we were to keep the same level of funding as 2019. And the FCSS non-funded programs is showing a deficit of $3,532, which we covered up by a lifeline reserve. On the non-FCSS non-funded programs, it's a balanced budget, but there is a significant increase to the Connects budget, which we will get into here shortly. So that's kind of a wrap on our FCSS budget. And we certainly appreciate the continued support and partnership that we have with the City of Lacombe in order to provide FCSS fund programs and services to the community. Any questions on the FCS piece?
Thank you. I'm sure that there will be a few. Councilor Todd, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. A couple of quick questions. We as a city have made the assumption, and we've adjusted our budget accordingly, preliminary budget, that we'll be getting less from the province. I'm just wondering why you haven't made that assumption. Why are you assuming you're going to get the same when all indications are?
Because we've had no indications from FCSS that we will be cut.
Okay. Because we heard things different at AUMA, so we heard everybody's getting cut, but anyways. So I find that interesting that you made that assumption because
And I think when we're planning our budget, it's difficult to plan. Going forward, we know that this is a draft budget, and at the end of November, once we know all the provincial budget's down and we know the city budget and so on and so forth, we have to go back to the table and make those adjustments. We will do so. But at this point, it was kind of hard to budget going in, so we thought, okay, we'll stay at the same level. go with the 1.4 increase for wages. And
Okay. Second question, I see you have no revenue in fundraising at all. Now, I know you've done some in the past. I mean,
no revenue, sorry?
no revenue from fundraising.
We have revenue from fundraising. It is all in,
Well, if you look under the fundraising line items, you have $0. I'm just wondering, like,
where are you looking?
well, on both of your budgets, you have $0 for fundraising.
Oh, okay, in the FCSS non-FCSS, non-eligible programs, for example, Caring for Children, Early Years Coalition, the Christmas Food Certificate Fund, or the Fill a Fridge Fund, all those what comes in goes back out.
Right.
And then in fundraising, we did, years past, we've done a Sip and Savor fundraiser, and after several years of doing it, we found that as far as resources, in order to put that on, it was costing us more money than we're actually fundraising. So we do have people provide some donations to the agency, and they may go into a non-restricted reserve if they're not designated to a specific program. But all the other programs that we do, it's all basically fundraising.
Okay, no, I mean, because, as you know, I was on the board 9 years ago, we started some fundraising, Sip and Savor, and it was initially quite successful. I know it gets harder and harder, trust me, I get that. But in light of budget constraints, I don't know, I think it's always wise to, yeah, you can take a step back for a few years, but at some point, I think you have to get back in the game because, you know, try something different. I don't know, I know it's not easy, get me out.
And I know with the 50th anniversary, we do have one fundraiser in mind that we think would be a good initiative towards that. In our FCSS reserves on our annual audit, the auditor has always been suggesting that we should have at least 3 months operational in reserve. And we started that, I would say 7 or 8 years ago. And it's, you know, it's a slow climb. We're not at 3 months operational yet, but we do have a little bit of a reserve that those dollars have come from fundraising or non-designated donations.
Thank you, Chief Gowdy.
Director McDonald, forgive me, I think I've asked you this before, but could you remind me where the Lacombe County support would show up in your budget? You said they're about 25% of the program participants. What's their funding participation?
So with Lacombe County, they're a municipal unit like the city of Lacombe, so they apply for FCSS funding too. So we, as an agency, apply to them for some FCSS funds. So I asked them for dollars to help with our community outreach program, so it's in the community outreach section under other grants. We asked them for dollars to assist with youth programming and community outreach, youth programming. Those are the two main areas. We have an agreement with Lacombe County to provide home support services, so that's a direct invoice. We direct invoice them for that service on a monthly or bi-monthly basis. So Lacombe County, I think this year our grant application to them was around $40,000, and those revenues are dispersed into the different areas in our budget. We have found that, yes, in all we keep stats on where participants come from for all our different programs, and it usually averages out county as 25 to 30%.
So I just want to make sure that I'm very clear there. Of your $2.2 million budget, approximately 25% of the participation is from Lacombe County in those programs, and they are participating at a $40,000 a year contribution.
I'll break it down a little further than that and take it to just the FCSS eligible funded programs. And that's the $893,000. So I would say if you take that section of the budget and then say 25% of the participants in all of those, well, no, I guess you could use another part of it. I hate to include everything in that budget because in the second section is Clive FCSS and Lifeline. We no longer do county Lifeline participation, and then Clive FCSS takes care of their own. We administer that, but they provide us the funds for the Clive FCSS program. And then in the non-FCSL, non-eligible, we have the Parent Link program in there. So there's 5 different communities in there. So that one is, so it wouldn't be the total budget. It would be, you know, a fair section of, I would say, I'm going to say maybe 1.2.
Anyone else have questions? So I guess I just wanted to touch on, you got a significant ask here for a proposed wage increase. This one, year one is nearly $50,000. I'm just wondering how often you do the wage comparisons.
We did one in 2015, we did one in 2018, and I know the city didn't do one in 2019, and in speaking with your HR department, when I think that the plan is to do one in 2020. And
so to just be clear, I'm not concerned about the city's end, I'm concerned about yours. So one was done in 2015 and one in 2018.
And then 2019 as well.
Okay.
Using the data from Sylvan Lake and Stony Plain.
Right. In between 2018 and 2019, you're expecting a $100,000 difference in wages, you know, in a year then?
No, they've always been way below the norm or the median from other communities, and we've brought this to council's attention, but we've never, I guess, officially asked to increase our FCSS funding so that we could make up for that compensation.
So you undertook to determine it, just nothing was done to address it. That's a fair statement.
Yes, and if I could say something, the 48,000 does seem like a big ask. Every year, like I said, when we do these rate reviews, it's very hard. We are a not-for-profit organization, but it's difficult to be in the board position and see a lot of people what you would consider underpaid in comparison. And the 48,000 does seem like a lot, but it's over 18 positions in the organization.
Fair enough.
So per position is.
Right. I thought it was any harder or less hard the last
And that's
5 or 6 years. I'm just curious why nothing has happened. Was it just not seen as a priority for the previous 6 years, or was?
No, it's always been a priority, and what we've done actually for the last, I would say, 7 or 8 years, we've been trying to increase our wages steadily, a little bit, and we've tried to add wage adjustments along with the COLA, and we've been successful in doing that. We just haven't been able to make big jumps, and what happens is every time a community does a compensation survey, we're that much further behind. A lot of times we're not even at the minimum. So lots of times we're even getting on the bar. And I know next year when we go to 2020, the HR department here with the city has said that they will include our FCSS in that wage compensation survey to get a more accurate picture. So that would really be helpful for us as well.
Very good. Well, that brings us to 5:37, so we're only a couple minutes behind for the next presenter. Thank you for your time.
Can I just do a quick on the connects?
Nope, we've used up our time then, so thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Shepherd, you're next up.
Really, they could go longer if you wanted.
If you don't mind it out of your time, that's fine by me.
I'm okay. My presentation should be fairly short.
Well, there you go. If you would,
Thank you.
if you would care to make use of that generous offer, you're more than welcome to. And I hope that it would be relatively
We'll be
brief.
short and sweet.
Very good.
Okay, so moving on to our Connects transportation budget. So as you know, we provide, the Connects is a partnership with the City of Lacombe and FCSS. City of Lacombe provides the fleet and the maintenance on the vehicles, and FCSS operates the program, does all the scheduling, and provides the staffing for the program. So I'm just going to head right on into, and Barb is our interim transportation coordinator. I'll ask her to give a few highlights from 2018. Go ahead, Barb.
In early January, we were informed by Wolf Creek School Division that they would be reducing the use of the Connect service based on reduced student transportation needs. We went from transporting 6 to 8 students a day down to 1 student twice a week. Operational adjustments were made to reduce our expenditures along with driver schedules. On the flip side, we have seen increased ridership from the Lacombe Composite High School work placement students, the Lacombe Action Group, long-term care, and recently new dialysis clients. Connects has been called upon to provide transportation for special tours. In April, we did the mural tour with IODE members who were in the city for a conference. In August, City and AUMA reps toured the world's largest lure. And last weekend, it was a pleasure to tour council and dignitaries during the Harvest Festival weekend. It was a lot of fun, and it gave us the opportunity to showcase our new Connects bus. The new bus is wonderful, and the riders are liking the extra space and smooth ride. Long-term care appreciates the ability to accommodate up to 7 wheelchairs. On behalf of all the Connects drivers, we thank you for the new bus. Our ongoing challenges: promoting the service and increasing ridership during non-peak times, maintaining service levels with current resources, and we continue to make changes to our new org booking system to improve Connects scheduling.
Thanks, Barb. We'll just move to the next page and I'll just give you a snapshot of the budget. So Connects for our 2020 budget, we show a comparison there to 19. So our budget moving into 2020 we're projecting it will be 156,947, which is a drop of almost 20,000 from 2019. Going down to revenue, we've seen a big decrease in user fees with not providing transportation to Wolf Creek Special Needs. There's a loss of $40,000 in revenue there. So overall, the budget, we've lost $40,000 in revenue, but then we've trimmed our expenses. We've done some work on scheduling and our staffing. So we've trimmed that down. We've decreased that by $17,640 from 2019. But overall, the difference, there still is a comparison difference that we have to make up. So moving on to 2020. The request for the Connects operational budget is $87,947 to make a balanced budget for Connects. And that's it. Thank you very much.
And thank you. Any questions with regards to Connects, Council? Councilor Bullock, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. So we're down to 2 drivers now, is that correct?
We have one full-time coordinator and driver who works 35 hours a week. We have one driver at 31.5, and we have a casual driver that works 25 hours, approximately 25 hours per week.
Per week. Okay, and now when you look at, you said you're looking at other opportunities. Was any of that with Wolf Creek School Division? Is there any opportunities there? Our
agreement is still open with them. So far this year, they haven't called us for the special needs students. Last year, at the end of the year, we were doing more transportation with the high school students, taking them back and forth to placement, and the replacements just haven't been set for this year, so we're anticipating providing some transportation needs there.
And just out of curiosity, what's the cost per ride? If it's, I know when we were doing the meals on or Stuff a Bus, a lady got a ride to Co-op by herself, and then an hour later Connects picked her up. What would her cost be for that?
So that was on a Wednesday, and on Wednesdays the Co-op is one of our partners, and they graciously support Wednesday free shopping. So the cost is $9 return. But we provide a special fund with agreement with them, and they provide free transportation for seniors, so we just bill the Co-op for Wednesday driving. Normal rates are it's $5 one way, $9 return.
Well, Okay, so $9 return is their cost, so pretty reasonable for the service.
And then we have other fares, for example, if somebody has to go to a medical trip in Red Deer, which could take up to an hour and a half to 3 hours. So basically we go to their house, we pick them up, take them to the medical, wait until the appointment's done, and then bring them back home. And that return is $50.
Okay, so that's reasonable also, very reasonable. Now so the opportunity to expand this, are you seeing anything in the community where you can expand the service or like to generate more revenues?
Well, we're looking at always trying to be out there a little bit more, so more folks, more seniors will take advantage of Connects. We have reached out to Alberta Health Services, and from time to time we may be transporting hospital or say nursing home patients from one facility in our community to another community. We've also said, we are available, as long as it's not ambulatory service that's needed, we would be available to help with transportation in that area, but we haven't had a lot of requests on that.
I was just wondering if you could provide a little clarity for the projected operational statistics. On the page here, you've got total ridership, so that is just numbers of rides with a person in the seat, I'm assuming. But then all these other numbers here, I guess what I'm getting at is total ridership, and then you got all these other stats in here.
Yeah, so then we just base that on our operations up until the end of August. And then, looking ahead to what we'll do in the next from, say, September till the end of the year. So total ridership, that includes everything. Wednesday is just those co-op riders for groceries. And dialysis, we go 3 times a week back and forth to Red Deer.
No, I appreciate that. But the 5,500 total ridership, is that rides or people, or what is that? Because these numbers don't, no matter how you add them up, doesn't work. That's total ridership. I'm assuming that's, if 3 of us here took a ride, that's 3 out of the 5,531?
That's correct.
Okay. And out of that 5,531 is composed of all the remainder of these?
Yeah, I'm not
Because
sure
all
what
the
it
rest is 1,500 or so. So how do they take 4 rides each?
So the other ridership, for example, outside of these would just be your everyday call into the office. Can you come and pick me up? I want to go groceries. I want to go to a hair appointment, so on and so forth.
I appreciate that. It's just, if that's the total, where's the breakdown of the total? Because this doesn't work. And I'm just...
So I guess the total would be if we took all the co-op and the dialysis rides in the hospital, added those all up, subtracted from the 5,531, that would be your other riders.
Okay. It might be nice to put another category in here for other rides, so at least has a chance of off, because it doesn't really make sense the way it is now for me.
Good call.
Very good.
Good,
Okay.
we can do that. Thank you.
Super. Anything else, Council? Councilor Gibbs?
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. I just have a quick question. For total ridership, so this is 2019 that you've provided here, the 5,531. Do you have any indication, like what you're anticipating, or I might have missed it, but for 2020, are you anticipating an increase in ridership, maintaining?
Well, we'd hope to maintain and hopefully increase. And then usually what we do is project our revenue based on where we're at kind of currently for the year, and then we just average that out and then bring it forward to the next year. I mean, it's a guideline and a projected, sometimes we're bang on, sometimes it's a little below.
I think that's all we had. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Shepherd, you've got 8 minutes left.
I'll do my best.
All right.
Thank you so much.
I'm just kidding. Thanks for joining us, Ron. As long as the red light is on, the floor is yours, and take out the bottom right-hand side of the gray button. There you go.
Hello?
So, thank you very much for having me tonight. Again, I'm always pleased when I do a council presentation where I don't have to drive 2 or 3 hours to get to it. So, having that extra couple minutes, it did give me something to think about that I think is fairly new and exciting, at least for me, that I wanted to tell you about very quickly. Because libraries are always trying to maximize our dollar. We've got a lot of challenges. Right now, the US dollar is hurting us a fair bit because of licensing fees, the cost of computers that we buy for libraries. And I won't even get into the uncertainty of provincial funding right now. But we introduced something called cloud linking. Now again, maybe this means nothing to you, but it's actually very significant for library patrons, and it's certainly a value added that we at the regional level can do for every library within the system. What it is it's a way of allowing us, the interlibrary loan, e-content, which is very restrictive based on licensing. But we created an agreement with 4 other regional systems so that we're now all sharing our ebooks. And what that means is just within a 1-month period, the other 4 systems borrowed over 764 items from Parkland, and we borrowed 810 items from them. So at roughly $30 an ebook, that actually means that between our borrowing and sharing back and forth, that's over $47,000 worth of items that otherwise would have had to have been paid for. And for that, we have to pay a fee of about $1,200 a year. So that's just one little thing. But anyway, now on with the actual budget. If you want to have a look, you might as well just keep that one long sheet, or sort of a budget synopsis in front of you. So I'm going to try to break this down very quickly into 3 different sections because we did receive the letter. You had some very specific questions for information that council wanted to receive. So I'll talk about our budget for 2020. I'll talk very briefly about our capital purchases and reserves, and then I've got some facts to share with you about the impact that Parkland can have directly on this community. So first and foremost, we are asking for $8.55 per capita, which is a 30% increase over last year, which I was kind of surprised that the board actually, because we have done multiple scenarios of budgets, everything from 10% cut to a doomsday budget, depending on what happens with provincial funding. And I mean, there was a huge spate of activity when the government announced bridge funding to the tune of 50% of what we got last year, but everybody was thinking that that was all we were going to receive. But anyway, we did plan for all of those contingencies. Our percentage increase is higher than it has been the last few years, but for the last 3 years previously, we were either at inflation or below inflation when it came to our requisition requests. About 45% of our total budget does come from the government. So again, the uncertainty, we're assuming right now we're going to at least get the grant levels that we received last year, but again, we've got some plans if we don't. But it will affect overall, not only if there is a provincial reduction, not only our operating grant, but the First Nations grant, which is a separate grant criteria that we are operating with right now. And it will also affect the rural library service grants amounts that come to your libraries. So just be aware of that. Provincial funding means that it will not only impact our budget, but the money we pass through Parkland to give to member libraries. In many ways, our budget is very status quo. We did see an increase of about $36,000 in revenue for the First Nations grant, but if you look at those lines, so that would be line 1.2 under income, but then there's line 2.6 under expenditures. You'll see that there's a corresponding expense because it's a restricted grant. We have to spend a certain amount of that money directly on services, and we just actually opened up a library service at Masquachese. Our materials allotment, so this is line 2.2, when you pay into Parkland, we set aside money for your libraries to buy, for all libraries to buy against. That remains at $1.13 per capita. Our e-content subscription line, 2.5, went up by about $9,300, but that's because we were trying to respond to demands from library for more e-content, because people want more stuff they can get 24/7. Includes things like consumer reports online, Solero, which is a homework type of help for students, and Ancestry, among other things. Ancestry is a genealogical kind of database that a lot of people are very pleased that we are now getting. Internet bandwidth, that's 2.8, went up by about $3,800 because you never have enough internet bandwidth anymore. We did actually reduce our audit expense line a little bit, that's 3.1, because we did an RFP and switched our auditors. Salaries and benefits did go up in compliance with our compensation policy. The thing that the board always wants us to stress now is that 78.5% of those wages are actually all going towards public service or service to our library. So this is not money that's paying for administration. Only 21.5% of that total budget is actually administration, which is really me, the head of finance, a finance clerk, and the office administrator. Trustee expenses went up quite a bit in proportion to what their line normally is at. That's line 318, sorry, because we did form an advocacy committee, because we realized with the election that we had to advocate and develop some sort of public awareness of what libraries do, because support from the new government is very important to our ability to operate. Now, touching on reserves, we have no separate capital budget. All of our capital purchases are made from our reserve fund accounts. We have 6 of them in total, plus another one that's used by the auditors for doing year-end adjustments. And we have about $1.1 million in reserves at any one time, but they're all, again, very specifically designated, and I can go into as much detail about that as you want. But the important thing to realize about our reserves is that we don't ever budget for reserves. So when municipalities pay into Parkland, we're not somehow taking money and then putting it into reserves to save. The only way we replenish reserves is through times when we get surpluses. So for instance, with the last presentation, you were asking about fundraising. We apply for a lot of grants. We try to find money from other sources, but we tend to use those for capital purchases or special projects, not for operations, because we don't feel it's safe to rely on uncertain funding to cover operational costs. So for instance, in a year we might budget to spend money on something, we end up by not needing it because we got a grant. That money then goes into reserves. Anyway, so what we are planning on purchasing next year is about $225,000 worth of IT purchases, because we do buy all of the computers for all of the member libraries. So we're running a network now of over 600 computers in our 50 library service points. Plus, we're going to be needing to buy 2 new cargo vans, because we've actually had to increase the number of cargo vans due to the drastic increase in interlibrary loaning that goes on between libraries. Again, circulation keeps going up, the movement of goods keeps going up. So within those budget lines, you'll see that we divided them into 3 sections. The tiny section at the top, that's unfortunately our income. We don't have a lot of sources of income. The next 2 sections outline our expenses. And that whole second section, which is, hang on here, a little over 1.2 million we're projecting for 2020, that's all stuff that goes back to libraries in either goods or services. It also includes cash, because again, we act as a sort of a redistributor of provincial grant money. So an awful lot of our budget, that's why it's hived off that way, is we want to clearly demonstrate that that's not money when people are paying into Parkland. We're not keeping, a third or better of our budget. So when you look at those sections, the second section there, that's over $58,000 worth of stuff, because we're asking for an increase, but that's all stuff that's going back to your libraries. It's not paying for us. Only a little over $53,000 is actually going to that third section, which covers our operational expenses, remembering that even of that, $10,000 is actually a direct board expense. And it's kind of funny, because some places, sometimes I get questioned about the level of Parkland's reserves, but again, we're paying for all of those vehicles and all of those computers and anything else that we buy of a capital nature out of reserves, which are not part of an operational budget. I'm trying to think about what else I can tell you about. I think I'll go straight to impact, because the one thing that I know that it's important to you is you want to know what we do to your community. So I'm going to run through some numbers. I didn't put this in.
Just so you know, we got time to get down to the proposed 2020 budget summary, and that's it, because we're already over.
Okay. Well, actually, do you want me to just leave it there and open it up for questions?
That'd be fine, sure.
Okay, go ahead.
So basically, the requisitions went from 825 to 855, so about a
30 cents.
3, almost 4% increase.
The increase to the requisition, I think, is at, about 3.6% with a total budgetary increase of 3.3%.
So I guess my only point with that, when I was running through the numbers, you had said largely status quo and insignificant. Unfortunately, that is nearly triple of what cost of living, or rather CPI is for us. So I would suggest that it's not status quo, but just a difference of opinion, I guess, on how we word it. So any questions from council? You got off the hook easy.
Well, I will say one thing, because you do deserve to know where we got our rate of inflation, what we based it on. Because in Parkland policy, we have to look at whatever the rate of inflation is at the end of May, because we're trying to build our budget so far in advance. And at that time, going 12 months back, it was at 2.2%. Nothing else?
That's all. Thank you very much.
Okay. I'll walk back to my office.
And next up, we have the Lacombe District Rikubetsu Friendship Society. We care to come forward. Looks like you got lots of help here.
Yes.
Feel free to bring up another chair or two if you'd like.
I'll just stay here. Go on.
I'll give you a moment to be organized there.
Grant knows I'm part of it, I'll just sit here. Do you want to grab one more chair so you can do the mouse? Who is going to do the mouse? Denise? Okay. Thank you very much for having us. And I want to say in Japanese, konbanwa, which means good evening. And I want to, first of all, introduce us. Myself, Marlene McQueston, and Jennifer Meadis and her daughter, Marika. And we had the great opportunity to go to Japan, to Rikubetsu this summer. And then Andrea Collins is our treasurer, and Maureen Bell is our historian. And Beaufort as well.
I'm the longest standing member at this point.
So we understand that you are on a big amount of people coming and making presentations, so we're feeling a little bit constrained, but we're also very excited to just tell you about our trip. So tonight we want to give you a brief overview of our trip to Rikubetsu, and then also include in that a report about the visit from the student delegation in September, and then also we will show you, or you will see our budget proposal. So again, thank you for supporting us with funds, and also through the twinning relationship that exists in itself. So we counted it an honor to be ambassadors for Lacombe in Rikubetsu. And one thing that we learned is that the Japanese people are very formal, and they have a lot of ceremonies. And in fact, I had to give 4 speeches through that 4-day stay. So, but with all of that, on our trip we learned that many new things, and we gained a very enriched experience by not just being tourists and going around and seeing different spots, which we did, but the highlight, of course, was being a homestay. So we were hosted in Japanese families and stayed in their homes, and we got to experience life as they see it. And that, I think, is a very enriching and broadening experience, because in this world where people are always labeling people one way or another, it helps us to have a greater understanding of our sister city and the nation that they are in as well. Now, we're going to go ahead with the slideshow, and Marika's going to talk as well. And if you have any questions with the slides, just please jump in.
Before we went to Rikubetsu, we explored Japan. We went to places such as Kyoto, Hiroshima, Okayama, Tokyo, and then we are on our way to Rikubetsu. And Rikubetsu, these are our homestay families, and this is a photo of me with all the past girls that I hosted in my house, and it was very fun. This is Marlene with her homestay family, and this is Holly and Allie. Day one in Rikubetsu, we saw the Milky Way Observatory. We went to a kindergarten class. We went to the Senkansai Museum, where we learned the history of Rikubetsu. We also had a train driving experience and Japanese calligraphy class. And last thing we did was an English class. Day two, we went to Lake Icon, and their specialty thing is a rolled algae that forms in their lake. We went to the Sulphur Mountain. We went to the Ainu Theater, and here's a video of us dancing.
You'll notice that there's quite a similarity between the Ainu, I think, and the Haida people. So Hokkaido was settled about 150 years ago. So it's relatively young, like Canada, in comparison to the main island of Japan, Honshu, which is thousands of years old.
We also went to Lake Kusharu, and if you dig up the sand there, hot water will come up. We went to Lake Mashu, and then on our last day, we had a day with host family and friends. And then we also went to the goodbye ceremony and the food festival. Here are some photos of their city hall. And then some interesting things was park golf, where it's smaller than a 12-hole.
It's a bigger course than a mini golf course, but it's smaller than a 9-hole. The ball is about this size, the size of an orange, and the club is a nice big size too, of a driver kind of a thing. Smaller club, as you can see.
Their cars are much smaller, and they had runner-pulled rickshaws. And then we are on our way home. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. We learned valuable life lessons, met new friends, and saw beautiful sights.
And this next part are the two people that were not able to be here. My husband also gives his regrets. He's not well with that terrible viral cough going around. And Holly Parker and her mother are in Calgary at a violin commitment of practice.
I liked how everyone welcomed us into their homes and also how we could experience a different culture.
I loved getting to know the host family and all the Japanese delegation. They were so friendly and welcoming, and they really were excited to share their culture with us.
I now have a deeper understanding of the Japanese culture, and I hope to share it with the people in Lacombe.
I learned that the world is small, and at the end of the day, we all really want the same things in life, and that's to be respected and to have meaningful relationships.
I was able to accept the differences in other cultures, and I grew in confidence and patience.
We learned how they communicated, what they ate, how they interacted socially, and just how their lives were on a daily basis, being immersed in their culture.
What was meaningful to me were the friendships that I made and getting to experience the daily Japanese life.
First and foremost, it was being an ambassador for Lacombe and sharing our culture with theirs.
Something that stood out to me was how all the students got along despite their age differences.
Okay, and we're just going to give you a quick little video on the student delegation visit this past September, just so you see some different events that they're involved with. So we take them out to the Cray family farm, and on the first day that they arrive. So this is a time of bonding with their host families and host family students. And then we also take them to the Tellus World of Science on Monday. Sunday is a day of the host family entertains them and shows them life around Lacombe or in Alberta somewhere. And we did have the opportunity to also take part in classes right at the junior high school. And what is neat is to have that international interaction, I call it, because they learn from each other about their skill level, and then they start to even communicate as well a little bit. So that's it's great to see that. Okay, that's our presentation, and we'll go to the budget proposal, and if you have any questions about that.
Doesn't seem to be a lot of questions. It's nice to see some familiar faces and locations. It's been a while since I've been there, but I'm sure it was an enjoyable and worthwhile experience for those who were able to attend. You've got a couple minutes, two to be exact, left. I was just curious, we don't seem to have any comparisons. Were the numbers, did they vary between 2019 and 2020, or is there any areas that stick out as being substantially different on your line items?
Different as in like we had
ticket prices?
Increase prices or
increases, decreases, or anything?
So we took off, usually as we have a spot in there for if we send people to the conference that's Rocky Mountain usually puts together. We haven't done that for the past couple of years, so we took that off just because we didn't want to ask for it, we're not going to use it. We took some off for, let's see.
Yeah.
They were all very relatively very similar in price.
It's really small difference from last year.
A little bit smaller, yeah.
Last year was 6,525.
Yeah.
This year is 6,375.
Yeah.
The main one is taking off the support for a member going to the twin communities.
Yeah.
But
we did have to add a little bit for the Cormies because we decided as a committee to pay for the host family for one of the parents and one of the kids too, so that they didn't always have to shell out for that because they have a lot of other things they shell out for the visit too. So.
Well, Council, any questions for the members of the Rikubetsu Society? Councillor Clausen?
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. Thank you very much. The presentation was awesome. I love to see the pictures and the videos were great. I liked the dancing. I participated in China doing something similar and I had a little costume on. It was fun.
Oh,
Anyway,
cool.
yeah, it didn't fit very well. Just a question on the drummers. Now, the drummers are in every year, right?
Yes.
Have you ever considered changing that to something else?
We've talked about that, but we found that the drumming is such a forceful, you hear it. So when you start hearing the drummers, people start coming to see what that's about.
Yeah, I personally, I love the drummers,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yes.
you do feel it, you know, that experience. It's just that it's a large portion of your budget, and somebody did mention to me today that, you know, it might be nice for, instead of the same every year, to have something different. That's all.
We can look at that too. We did have a gal that, for Culture Days, we had her teach ikebana, which is Japanese flower arrangement.
So we only did that a couple of years during the Culture Festival.
Yes.
But that's something that the people who participate pay their own too. It's not really,
Too of an expense
for
on
the,
our
for the
part.
expense of the flowers and everything else.
Thank you.
Councillor Hibbs.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. Just a quick question. It's not really immediately obvious from this budget, but I'm going to assume that the only source of funding is from the city. Otherwise, you know, when hosts, or when the families are hosted, obviously there's costs incurred by those host families, but that's separate. So when you're looking for money from an outside source, the city is the sole source of that? Okay.
Yes.
I've not seen a lot of other,
Sorry.
no problem, go ahead.
Thank you, Mark Creasy. Just, do you take advantage of the facility system grant with the Rec and Culture?
No.
Okay.
We did take advantage of it for some things, such as room rental
Right.
Oh,
at the LNC.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Okay. No, just making sure that there is that option. So.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and we compiled a book. It's a picture book, a coffee table book for the city. And I'm going to present it to Mayor Creasy. And this is a book that you can get to know Rikubetsu better by taking a look through it. And I have even a little picture for Matt because I took a picture of a manhole cover. And it was so artistically done, you'll have to check it out. Because this is something that we might think about in Lacombe. And thank you again so much for your support.
Appreciate it, thank you.
I've got that bow. Oh, and by the way, I have to tell you about this t-shirt just quickly. It has kanji on the back, and this was a gift given to us by our Rikubetsu friends when they came. And then when we didn't think anything of it until we looked at the back. And the kanji is the calligraphy that we actually did. And they took it and made t-shirts out of it. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much for the gift. We'll find a spot here at City Hall where lots of people can enjoy this book. It looks like somebody spent an awful lot of time and effort into it, so thank you.
All right.
We've got a couple more guests here before us. Looks like we've got Monica Bartman and Diane Limas joining us from the Lacombe District Chamber of Commerce. Well, after you're settled in, see the light is still left on there, so the floor is yours whenever you're ready to go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dan Limas. I'm the Vice President. Yeah.
Second vice?
Second Vice. Oh, I like having two vices.
Okay.
So in our package, we showing you our budget for 2020. Basically, we're asking for a small increase from last year to this year, kind of keeping up with the cost of living. So it's a $150 increase. The chamber operates the Visitor Information Center, basically on behalf of the community. As you can see there, the Lacombe County does provide roughly a matching grant. They have a separate policy system out in the county for funding this kind of organization, or the Visitor Information Center. This year, between May 1st and September 30th, so this is the 2019 year, there were about 432, well, about exactly 432 visitors. We are down from 2018 by about 13%. There was conversations and information provided to 14 individuals or family who had recently located to Lacombe and 12 additional families who were considering Lacombe as their new community to reside in. So this is compared to 10 individuals and 19 that were considering moving here back in 2018. We'd like to thank the city for their role in providing funding to help us provide this vital service to our community and the vibrant relationship that it has allowed. Our increased request for 2020 is in line with the city's new policy regarding property tax increase. And we look forward to a future of engagement, collaboration, and success with the city of Lacombe. We'd like to thank the mayor and councilors for their continued support of our operation of the Visitor Information Center, and we see this service as an integral part of the community, providing services to visitors and residents. Any questions?
Somebody might have a question. I was just curious what the role for the that you provide with us, the Visitor Information Center. Is that focused on Lacombe area, the province in general? What's the focus of the Information Center? And I'll tell you why I asked that.
So we are accredited through the provincial program, the Alberta Visitor Information Providers. So there was a few criteria that we had to meet in order to get that accreditation, which we did in 2011. So it included putting access bars in the bathroom and making sure that there was designated parking for accessibility and things like that. So we do have information from areas all across the province, including regional. We also keep track, in addition to how many people are coming through, we keep track of what those people are looking for. And so when I was going through the stats for this year, it's basically 75% of the people coming in are looking for local or regional information. And then it's about 20% that are looking for the rest of Alberta, and then 5% are trying to get information for Alberta, or pardon me, Saskatchewan and BC, which we don't have. So we have information for all of Alberta, but generally the majority of the inquiries are people that are looking for local and regional.
So this is from a perspective of an individual, friends from the upper northwest that visited and stopped in, and they suggested to me that the information was available for local events and happenings was all next to non-existent. And this is just what they told me.
Okay.
And they felt that it was more focused on an Alberta thing. So
yeah,
that's the reason why I asked. I was just curious.
Yeah.
And this is just one couple.
Right.
But it still, they had no reason to not tell me the truth. So
right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Anyone else? Well, you're getting off pretty late, the two of you. Appreciate you stopping by this. Councillor Dawes, go ahead.
Is that not necessarily, how's it going for the awards banquet?
It's going well.
Going good?
Yes.
Because it is a major expense for you and on your budget.
It is, yes. Yeah. And there have been a few years where we've made some revenue on it, like a profit, but we kind of had a conversation at the board level and decided, this is one of the activities that we do that's really important to the community, and so if it's not a huge money maker at the end of the day, that's okay. It's still an important event, celebrates community and the businesses, and it's lots of fun, and I think it's important to take the time to do that as well, so we're happy to happy to spearhead that.
Good. So most of the time you break even at least on it?
For sure, yes, yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Ross?
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. I guess I'm maybe being partial to the couple coming into Lacombe with the, there's a lot more done through culture and tourism that nobody really, I think, in my opinion, respects and knows. And that having been on the board of culture and tourism and yourself being on that board, I guess maybe that, is there more potential to be collaborative so that the recognition is jointly, if that makes sense? Because like as a later presentation of culture and tourism, and yourself and I being on that board, a lot of people don't know the time and effort that between the culture and tourism and the board of what's taken involved when an event comes into Lacombe, package is put together. So it may not just be the chamber, other organizations also work collaboratively with the chamber. So in defense, I guess is maybe what I'm trying to say, is there are a lot of other things done behind the scenes that do accommodate others, and just that maybe it could be improved, if that makes sense, I guess.
Anyone else? Thank you both for coming this evening. We appreciate it.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
So we are a couple minutes ahead of schedule now. But if we've got some members here from Lacombe District Historical Society, come on. Welcome to you both. The light is on your microphone now so that everybody can hear you at home as well that are watching online.
Oh, perfect. Well,
Whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I'm Melissa Blunden. I'm the Executive Director of the Lacombe District Historical Society. And this is Debbie Giard. She is our Vice President. We'd just like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to present our 2020 budget proposal. So in July of 2019, a midterm report was sent to City Council for your information. We've also included a copy of that in the package that was sent to you last week, if you wanted to review it later. But as such, I'm only going to touch very briefly on some of the items that were covered in that. One of our major projects that we did in 2019 was rewriting our policies and procedure manual. To date, this has comprised of 22 meetings and over 250 hours of work that's been put into creating a resource for our board members, our staff, and our volunteers. And this resource, it aligns with both federal and provincial policies, as well as following the Alberta Museums Association standards for museums and heritage buildings. From this project, we created our we refined our mission and vision values, and then created these new values up here that you can see. And these are to guide all of our future activities and actions that the Society will be taking. At this time, we estimate it will be another 80 to 100 hours of work to complete this project. We have submitted, as you know, our reapplication for the Alberta Museums Association Recognized Museum Program. At this time, they have actually asked us to apply as a museum leader in Alberta. So this is a very exciting opportunity for us. It would put us on the same level as museums and institutions like the Royal Alberta Museum, the Tyrrell Museum, and the Reynolds Alberta Museum. So we hope to achieve that new level of recognition because it will allow us to assist smaller heritage institutions both within the Lacombe City and then in the county as well with things like helping them as needed and mentoring them with new professionals in the industry. Due to our sustainability efforts in promoting local ecology, the Canadian Wildlife Federation actually recognized the Heritage Gardens this year at the Mitchell House as being a wildlife-friendly habitat. So this has led us to open a new research project that focuses on the variety of crops and plants that are natural to our region and what we're growing over the last few centuries. This research is going to be presented in a 2020 interpretive tour of our heritage gardens, as well with pamphlets and plaques, and then we hope to actually make it into an exhibit in future years. In accordance with our new sustainability value statement, we see museums and ourselves as agents of social change. So this new certification allows us, or we hope to inspire others to actually take action and make their own wildlife-friendly habitat. So in the spring of 2020, we plan to issue a challenge for other like-minded businesses, nonprofits, and even individuals to attempt to get their own gardens to preserve our ecological spaces in town. Restoration work, so this year we actually had approval from both the province of Alberta and the City of Lacombe's Historical Resource Committee to do restoration work at the Blacksmith Shop Museum. The conservation work we undertook was to the doors and windows of the museum, including hardware, scraping and painting, new glass as needed, and repairing wood as needed to the doors and windows. This work also included the replacement of 4 belts inside of the museum that run our trip hammers. Unfortunately, we have not been able to source appropriate belting material, as it was 100 years ago. They were made out of leather, which is not easy to find anymore. So we are still hunting down an appropriate source for that. The Society has also been approved to complete maintenance work at the Michener House Museum. This includes scraping and repainting the wooden boards. So we hope to have both of those projects done before we reopen for the 2020 summer season. So this year we hired our 4 summer students through the Government of Canada grants, as well as we had 3 projects that were internships completed through the Alberta government. So we did have the same individuals working on both, so they worked full-time, and then on their days off they were also at the museum volunteering with Volunteer Alberta. So the museum, we also then hired a part-time museum assistant. This was to assist us with the Lacombe Globe Records move. So this was a project that kind of came up out of nowhere. We weren't expecting it. It was in the late winter, I believe in February, that we got notice that they had 30 days to vacate their office, and if we could please take 100 years worth of records, that would be swell. So we obviously didn't have the resources to do that. So without the assistance of the City of Lacombe in our initial move of these records from the Lacombe Globe office to a safe storage space, followed also by allowing us to store the records there for almost 4.5 months at no cost, the project would not have been able to have been completed. We've estimated that it cost about $3,000 for us to do it, and if we had to pay for movers and storage facility, it would have been at least triple that. So it would not have been a viable project whatsoever. We are happy to say that as of August 20th, the Lacombe Globe records are actually safely located in their new home, which is the Michener House Museum, and they're open for the public for research requests and just general access if public is interested in seeing it. In 2019, we expanded our services and accessibility to our community members. This means that admission remained free or by donation to both museums, as it always has been. A temporary ramp was installed at the Blacksmith Shop Museum during events, and extra programming was developed, including evening walking tours outside of our core hours of operation, and changes to our summer hours to ensure at least one of our museums was open every day of the week. We also developed new social media opportunities for the public to engage with us, including our popular Where's Rollin', as you can see, and our Throwback Thursday posts. These were on all of our all of our platforms, including Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and our website. We are currently going through our analytics of our 2019 social media campaigns to kind of see where we can develop a higher engagement from the community, and actually begin counting our visitors from our website and social media interactions as part of a virtual visitorship. So we hope next year to have a visitor column and then a virtual visitor column to show you some statistics. So for programs and services and our events, we increased the amount of programs hosted on our site by developing some new opportunities for the community to engage with us. So these included the night heritage walking tours I mentioned, as well as our Skills for Homesteader program, which was previously only offered at the Michener House. We developed 4 new programs, varieties of it, and offered it at the Blacksmith Shop as well, so we had them running simultaneously. We developed 15 family-friendly drop-in programs, hosted our first Heritage Blacksmith workshop, and created a new event called Taste of the Past, which coincided with Open Farm Days and the Travel Alberta culinary events. And we also had our antique photo parlor, which debuted this summer. So in sum, over the 4 months that both museums were open, we actually created 47 additional opportunities for free public programming at the Lacombe museums this summer. This was outside of our daily museum tours when the museums are open, our regular programming offered during our community events, school programs that we offer, and our weekly drop-in programming at the Michener House during the off-season. A quick example of one of our annual events that we participate in is the Lacombe Days Festival. So out of the 48 events this year that were offered to the public, 19 were offered or part of the Lacombe Museum. So that is 42% of the Lacombe Days festivities. Somehow we were involved in them, if we were actually offering them or if we were going out on a bus giving a tour. So of course we're happy to be participating in these events. We want to be participating in these events. But a lack of our own resources, if that's volunteers or staffing or even programming materials, that can cause a bit of a concern when we have large turnouts of people on site. So we created new programs for our school programs this year, and they actually follow the current Alberta curriculum. So I've included 2 examples here. If you just want to move ahead 2 more slides, I think. One more, there we go, okay. So this one is our work and play program at the Michener House Museum. So this is where students get to have fun learning how much work is required in a homestead. This program includes setting a proper table, helping with the laundry, old-fashioned butter making, gardening, and also various play activities and games. Students are then led through thought-provoking discussions to compare these chores and games to those of today. This program is offered for grades 1, 2, and 3, and it links with their social studies curriculum by talking about the life of prairie towns and community contributions. Our second example is from the Living Long Long Ago program. This is at the Blacksmith Shop. It invites students to participate with us at the Blacksmith Shop Museum and learn what it was like to live in this part of Alberta more than 150 years ago. Storytelling, old-fashioned metalworking, and creating their own rope are all elements of this program as we introduce students to the people and places significant to this historic site. This program is for grades 2, 3, and 4 and has links with the Alberta's social studies curriculum by talking about First Nations, individual contributions to communities, and changes over time. There are currently 4 curriculum-based programs like this available that we have created. These pilot programs were rolled out in spring of this year for grades K to 6. However, we do have plans in the next few years to expand that all the way to grade 12. 2019 exhibits that we were part of this year, so we facilitated 3 exhibits. We had the Lacombe Quilts and Textiles, which was just 2 weeks ago at the Lacombe Performing Arts Society grand opening. Our Lacombe Sports History, which you can see on the display there, that was at the Allen Cup tournament, which had over 20,000 people, according to them, attended the tournament. So we estimate probably not 20,000 people came in, but we were thinking between 1,500 and 2,000 probably made their way throughout the week through the gallery space. And then our final exhibit is actually on display right now at the Lacombe Royal Canadian Legion. It's the Reflections of Vimy exhibit that we debuted in 2017. So they have it there on display in their building. We've developed a new virtual exhibit on the Merchants of the Ken Geezer building, and that will be going live on our website before the end of this year. We also have 6 other virtual exhibits that are on our website, and those are available all year round. So. Our permanent gallery spaces at the Blacksmith Shop were actually updated this year. As well, in 2020, through the winter, we plan to rearrange the exhibits inside the Michener House. This hasn't been done in 15 or 20 years, so the goal is to not change it too much to upset anybody, but just to re-engage some visitors who maybe have seen the same thing more than once. So. That being said, our overall visitorship has continued an upwards growth, and we have that we have seen since 2015. While the numbers are slightly lower at the Blacksmith Shop this year than last, we can actually directly attribute that to the weather that happened this year. So according to our visitor statistics, the days that were most mild were heavily attended, whereas days that were either very rainy or the 5 days that were very hot, those days were pretty quiet at the museum. So direct reflection of the 200 numbers there that are different is from our annual Hammer-In Festival. Typically we see 300 to 350 people at our Hammer-In. This year we saw just under 100, and it was the hottest day in August, so we're pretty sure that has something to do with it. Okay, so then some ongoing services to the city. In January, I had the great honor of being nominated to the position of chair for the City of Lacombe's Heritage Resource Committee. So I take the role of representing the heritage and history of Lacombe on both facets very seriously. And the Historical Society continues to act as a resource for both municipal planning commission hearings that pertain to properties submitting demolition requests that are over 50 years in age. So that whole list there, I won't bore you with it, but those are my responsibilities. We basically meet once a month, we discuss new permits, we do site documentation and visits. And so between January and September, I chaired 9 of those meetings, completed 6 individual property inspections and 6 individual property reports, completed 4 property salvage visits, and a full inventory was completed of the heritage items that the committee has in their possession for an estimated total of 100 hours of time. Looking into our future at programs and service changes for 2020, the Society is in the process of creating a new outreach program specifically for seniors in the Lacombe District Assisted Living Facilities or long-term care, where they can engage with mystery objects from our collection to stimulate thinking and to spend time sociably with others. So since the objects are mysterious, seniors don't have to worry about whether or not they actually remember what these items are. Instead, they can actually just share some ideas and feelings and guesses in a judgment-free environment. The kit is intended to offer an opportunity for seniors to socialize, to stimulate thinking, provide variety and interest while also promoting well-being, and share objects with the society from the Society's collection with people who may not necessarily be physically able to come to our museums to see them. We plan to further our outreach programming to include in-class offerings and kits for regional schools as well as local homeschooling groups. Following our strategic plan with our community and funders' help in 2020, the Lacombe District Historical Society commits to maintaining the best practices in museum standards, including the restoration of our historical buildings, updating permanent gallery spaces, increasing support of smaller regional institutions, including loaning exhibits, assistance with programming, and fostering and mentoring new museum professionals into the industry, piloting and adopt an artifact incentive, maintaining our accessibility for the community, creating new outreach programs, tracking our impact and following online, and planning our 2021 50th anniversary projects. We've already begun the planning stages of our 50th anniversary projects, and we hope to be able to present them to the City of Lacombe alongside our partners in the upcoming months. As a service provider in the City of Lacombe, the Lacombe and District Historical Society is requesting the City Council to increase its funding contributions to $48,000 for operations in 2020. While we are aware that this increase is over the suggested 1.4% from last year, we would like to note that the Historical Society did not ask for a 2019 budget increase, and that this funding is pivotal to allowing us to continue to deliver our core services to the city, to develop and facilitate new outreach programs and partnerships, and maintain its accreditation as a museum leader in the province of Alberta. We are concerned that if the funding request is not met, we will not be able to continue on with the services and programs as outlined in this presentation, and that the community is accustomed to receiving from us. Large decreases in citizen engagement and free programming could be on the horizon if the Society needs to further cut into our operating budget. It is a fear of mine that the mission and vision and value statements may not be met if that is the case. I do believe that the City of Lacombe and its council members can see the value of their dollars in the work that we have done in the past year. We are trying to make these 2 museums really stand out in the province. We are getting recognized provincially and all across Canada, actually. And the public is starting to see our awareness, and our awareness is being increased. People are engaging with us through social media, our website, and at events now more than they ever have before. Prior to 2019, we actually only had 4 tours that we offered. And that was the case for many, many years. And now we have expanded the programming to include 4 Alberta curriculum-based programs, 5 different heritage tours, 15 unique family-friendly drop-in programs, and have participated in over 14 different events around the community this year alone. Many of these have been multi-day events where we offer programming, food, and a variety of activities and services to the public free of charge. At this time, I would just like to take a moment to say that I am very proud of my coworkers and volunteers and those who work countless hours on their evenings and weekends, from everything from policy writing to event planning, snow removal and gardening, programming, tours, bookkeeping, and of course within our actual archives and the collections themselves. We would not be as far along as we are today if it wasn't for all their passion and hard work. Going forward, we hope to surpass the excellent year that was 2019 for us in the community, but we need the funding to make that a reality. So we would like to thank you for taking the time to listen to us, and if you have any questions, we're here to answer them.
Thank you, Melissa. Council? Councillor Connick.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. I'm just curious on your budget line item for staffing costs. It's $121,000. How many staff does that cover?
So our staffing line is my wages as well as the wages from the summer students. And then if we were to hire a part-time assistant, right now she works 1 day a month. If we could bring her on a little bit longer, it would cover that as well. The grants that we get for our Canada summer students, they're matching grants. So we do have to pay like $8,000 per student and we get $4,000 back, depending.
And while you're on that same line, then the contract services is what?
So our bookkeeping and any maintenance around the museums as well, we have applied for intern from the Alberta Museums Association. So we would be allocating almost $18,000 to $20,000 towards her wages if we were to get that internship. Of course, it's also in there in the budget side for a grant that would be coming in. It was that $18,000 as well. So if we don't get the grant, then we just take that out of the contract services.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thanks, Mayor Creasy. So in my day job, I work for ParentLink, and they have accessed some of your services, and it's excellent. This year was the first time you charged a user fee or whatnot, and I guess I encourage you to continue doing that, don't hesitate to charge user fees at times. I appreciate that you said virtually everything is free, and that's great, but is that mandated that it needs to be free, or could you?
I think that's something that the board is looking at right now is what does our sustainability financially, is it better to be by donation or should there actually be a fee? I think a concern is as soon as you start putting in a fee, which we did discover this year with our school programs, even a nominal fee, it pushes people away. So typically we would get over 600 students in May and June, and this year we had half of that because the teachers were not too happy with the $3 a person fee. But that does obviously cover all the programming costs of the actual materials themselves that we give to the students. They're all going home with objects at the end of the day. So, well, we're working on that.
Anyone else? Thank you for coming out. That's all the questions we have for you tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Right on time, Angel, if you care to join us now from Lacombe Regional Tourism, we have Angel Han and Rachel Gray as well. Whenever you get settled there, the microphone red light is on there, so the floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor Creasy and councillors and all the rest of you. Thank you for inviting us here. My name is Rachel Cray, and I'm the president of the Lacombe Regional Tourism and Marketing Association. And this is Angel Hand. She's our wonderful executive director who does 99% of all the work. But I get to present, which is exciting because I'm really proud of the work we've been doing. So we will head right into this presentation here. We'll be going through our summary and funding requests, budget, and we have the financials there at the end as well. So Lacombe Tourism provides frontline visitor services year-round, so 5 days a week, September through June, and then 7 days per week, July and August. We also have summer students that help us in the summer be able to do that. You'll see here the statistics from our visitor statistics from this past year. And I don't remember what year it was now that the Lacombe Historical Society and tourism used to be combined more. So we've split the statistics. So if you have looked at past statistics, you'll wonder why there was kind of jumping around, but we each keep track of our own statistics now. And now that so the Flatiron now is not a designated museum, as you heard from Melissa. So the blacksmith and the Michener House Museum. So we, even though it is a wonderful historic building, the Flatiron itself, inside is where we do our tourism work. It is not a designated museum. That being said, there are still a lot of visitors that come in there. We act as a visitor information center, although not designated as such. So there are lots of places in Lacombe where people can find out what is happening here and where they can visit. So we are excited to see that our numbers actually did not, they actually went up slightly, but yeah, not a big change with that change here. So you'll see that there. You want to add anything on that?
No, just that we, like Rachel said, we're not a sanctioned museum, which people still think we are sometimes, but we still try to provide a great amount of information on the historic downtown and of course places to go and things to do. So it is really nice because we get to meet people from all over the world, which sometimes we're surprised where they all come from when they visit here. But our statistics and visitors have been really constant.
So Melissa also sits on our board, so there is a real integration there together. So we'll just continue here. So we do lots of website work on our own. After the initial website revamp, we now take care of a lot of the back end as well. And then of course our social media. So we keep track of upcoming events with the event pages and event calendar, accommodations, local food. There's a new trip planning app on there. All the attractions in the area, and then of course our partner organizations and the different communities within the Lacombe County. I don't need to go through all the statistics there, you can see that. Always increasing each year. Every year one of our big projects is our visitor guide. This guide goes out to 10,000 people. It is distributed in many different parts of the county, also throughout the province, and other visitor information centers. Also to those that come to visit the community, they can always pick one of those up. Different groups, we also supply the visitor guide when groups come into the city. So inside there you'll see, oh sorry, did I go ahead? So you'll just see here that, just to note, I know you've probably noticed this already, but you'll see how the revenue has increased. Sales and membership and our publication cost has actually gone down or stayed the same over the years, so that's been good for us. I'm back there yet, so. So we do a lot of promotion. We are a marketing association primarily, so we market what other people are doing for a lot of our time. So the community events calendar, all the social media and website that I mentioned, weekly event emails, Lacombe County News gets stuff from us, website of course, and then the posts. We also coordinate all the Canada Day events, so all the grants that need to be written for that, the programming, advertising, and also the fireworks come through us. Open Farm Days, we do a lot of the programming, advertising, and tours of the area for that. The Lacombe Culture and Harvest Festival is coordinated through tourism as well as all the grants. You'll see that on our later on. The grants and the money that comes in for that, the programming and advertising. And then Light Up the Night, we do the bookkeeping. What's that? Oh, sorry. The advertising and the webpage for that as well. Just a few little fun things here. So we were given number 10 for Best Culture Day Festival in Canada last year for communities under 50,000, so that was exciting. Second place for Canada's Most Rider-Friendly Community 2019, and then nominated just recently for the Nonprofit of the Year for the City of Lacombe. You probably remember from last year, also we mentioned the Central Alberta Tourism Alliance, CATA, so we're continuing to be involved with them. And one of the new things that they're working on as part of the big plan was developing a master trails plan for the region, so we're excited to see that happening because we get a lot of people asking us about that. And then of course this takes up more time because there are meetings and projects that we're always working on with them. And we are grateful for the ongoing support from the province. So Travel Alberta and Alberta Culture and Tourism are always actively involved with CATA as well. So the website, the Visit Central Alberta website is growing and including that online travel planner. So we're excited to see where this goes in the future. So our 2020 funding request from Lacombe Regional Tourism and Marketing Association is requesting $50,960 in operating funds, and also $5,000 for the Lacombe Culture and Harvest Festival. This is the same amount of funding we received in 2019, and we are not seeking any increase this year. Our plans for 2020 include continuing to deliver services from the Flatiron Building, also the visitor guide again, hosting our wonderful visitors, maintaining the website and social media and all the event marketing activities that we mentioned, planning with CATA and assisting with Canada Day, Light Up the Night, and hosting the 9th annual Lacombe Culture and Harvest Festival. I will not go into more detail on the budget, but you can ask us any questions if you have them.
Any questions, anyone? But I guess just as a feather in your cap, you certainly caught the attention of Minister Leela here. She was very impressed with the Culture and Harvest Festival. I think it's every day that you get happy birthday sung by the minister. So, not to suggest that was one of the reasons that she showed up here, but she was very glad.
It's a lot better than us singing happy birthday.
No, it was very nice, and I actually am going to send her an invitation through Rick, her co-worker there, to come out for Light Up the Night, so I'll give her the dates and go into the schedule of things going on and see if we can't find something that she wants to come and be a part of, because she expressed interest in coming back. So yeah, it was very nice to have them come out, and got lots of thank yous from them even after for a lot of the extra work, because they asked us to do quite a bit more than ended up getting done, so they appreciated the fact that we kind of went over and above and were flexible to their schedule once they got here, so that was very nice.
Wonderful. So you got off easy on questions. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Yes,
Appreciate it, both of you. People leaving chambers for a minute. Would we like to take a short break before the final presentation, or is everybody fine to go through? Yes or no? I think we're going to power on through. We're a few minutes ahead of time, but I see some of the dedicated members from the Lacombe Performing Arts Center Foundation are here. So whoever's going to be presenting, I'm assuming Mr. Harder will be as well. Good to have you both.
I can answer questions if there's anything on the budget.
What a chicken. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councilors, and upper echelon of administration. Nice to be here again. We've been here more often than you guys all know. Rosanna's going to do all the talking.
Hi guys. So good evening. I am the executive director of Lacombe Performing Arts Center as well, in case anyone was wondering why I'm here. Sorry. Okay. So I know, as Grant said, we have been here quite often. So I just want to do a brief overview of the community impact of the Lacombe Performing Arts Foundation. So we launched Music in the Park programming in 2013 and began fundraising for the construction of the Echo Stage in 2017. A year ago, we entered into a lease with Trinity Lutheran Church and purchased the facility on October 1st, 2019. The Lacombe Performing Arts Center Foundation has worked numerous years to support the presence of a strong arts community within Lacombe and strive for what we have today, a dedicated facility to provide an opportunity for performers and cultural educators to share in what is becoming a community hub for all to enjoy. 2019 programming. Our current rental space consists of the theater with 150 theater style capacity, seating, audio, lighting, and stage. The fireside room is 60 theater seating capacity, and the art room is up to 6 work tables or 50 theater seating style capacity with attached bathroom and large basin wash sinks. The venue can meet the needs of various arts organizations, like-minded community groups, and cultural educators. The Trinity Lutheran congregation still uses the space in the fireside room, and they have a permanent pastor's office free of charge for the foreseeable future. In 2019 alone, LPAC has seen a rise in bookings from its spring season to its fall season by an average of 335%, from 26 hours per month on average to 87 hours per month on average.
Sorry, how much was that?
335%. And an increase of unique renters of 167%, from 6 to 10 so far this fall. LPAC offers a concert series bringing in local, provincial, and national talent for quality performances once a month through the winter, spring, and fall. We have collaborated with local performing art companies. Cow Patty Theatre has introduced a youth theatre program, which began in September and runs until February. We have returned bookings for public entertainment from Tim Tamashiro, Flatiron Jazz Band, Lions Community Band, the Homeschool Children's Theatre, Maddox Dance, and Homegrown Theatre, as well as having new concert bookings from public performers. Our goal is to expand programming into visual and literary arts, broadening the accessibility, answering more community needs, and rounding out the use of the entire center. In part to do so, it is essential that we collaborate with like-minded organizations to fill those needs and offer a more diverse programming while increasing art exhibits to promote local visual artists. Lacombe Performing Arts Center strives to enrich and enhance the cultural environment of the city of Lacombe and surrounding communities, focusing on rebranding and marketing as a new dedicated facility, creating a space for like-minded individuals, and continuing program that is accessible to everyone, such as Music in the Park. So increases in our 2020 budget factors contribute to the ownership of the facility, taking over care and maintenance of the building, and increasing hours of the executive director to establish consistent operating hours in the center. We're budgeting to build a reserve as well. A professional contractor will be completing a reserve fund study to prioritize infrastructure needs that will come from reserve funding. So the Lacombe Performing Arts Center is requesting $38,000 to support the operating costs of the center for 2020. Do you have anything? I'm gonna do that.
I just wanted to add that next month will be a year since we first presented the concept of purchasing the theater, and at that time there was a motion made and passed through council to support that and contribute up to $50,000 per year towards the operation of that facility. And I just wanted to point out that $38,000 is not 50. So we're quite a ways below the 50,000, and that's what we need. We don't need 50,000. And I think you'll notice as well that in the upcoming years, did we provide a 5-year?
We provided a 2020 budget.
And nothing beyond that?
No.
So
Ellen has it.
in subsequent years, in our, Ellen has been working on a 3-year or a 5-year budget plan, and in those years, we're not predicting that we're going to have to come back to council for an increase over and above that 38,000. We're working on some other grant applications. We're going to the county, for example. So, like I say, we don't anticipate that we're going to have to come back next year and ask for an increase. And I think that's important to recognize as well.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Councillor Clark?
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. I'm just looking for clarification on revenue, Arts Center revenue. You have room rental, performance revenue, and tenant rental. What the tenant, is that the?
That's the play school.
That is the play school. Okay, I just wanted to, because I thought they were leaving, but I guess they're staying. Is that correct?
They don't have any plans to leave at this point. They're still running on the funds that on the income that they're going with, so they don't have any plans at this point.
So I guess I'd just like some clarification. You've had a substantial increase in operational costs that you've indicated for the 2020 budget. You've had some increases in usership and whatnot, which are nice. From the county and the city, then some $76,000 or something. What is the majority of this money utilized for?
In taking over the building, the 2019 budget that you look at, we've only been owners of the building as of October 1st. So the substantial costs in our operating has to do with utilities, maintenance. We took over the janitorial and maintenance staff. We would like to increase our executive director's time so that we can have a more consistent opening of the building. So there'll be like taking over a building plus our mortgage is included in those costs as well.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ross?
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. So the automobile expense, I'm assuming that's still the C4 van?
Yes.
So is that van sponsored, or who owns it?
We do.
We bought it out. It was, the lease was gifted to us by Lacombe Ford, and when that lease came up for renewal, we bought it out.
Okay, thanks.
Seems to be lots of people looking at iPads, but not too many lights on. Other questions? Councillor Hoekstra?
Thanks, Mayor Creasy. But I do see there's an 11.5 going into the capital reserve, and you did address reserves a little bit in your presentation. So you know I'm a supporter of you, but I'm going to just play the devil's advocate. So let's say 11.5 of our 38 is going into this reserve for a capital project of some sort. Will we be asked twice to potentially fund some capital project? Does that make sense? So we are going to potentially be paying into this reserve as a city
But then when this capital project might be presented to us, we'll be asked for more. Do you know where I'm going with this?
The 11.5 is not earmarked for any specific capital project, but I think it's necessary, if we're gonna own that building, that we have a capital reserve. We don't wanna be going along and all of a sudden find out that we need to do something major in terms of repairs and not have any funds. So I think it's only prudent that we do establish a reserve. Now, just so you know, that the largest portion of that 11.5 actually came from the Kinsman Club. So I guess it depends, it's one pocket or the other, but that's where we came up with the money to initially start that capital reserve, and it just coincidentally tied in nicely with the purchase of the building. Am I right in saying that?
We also, the capital reserve also will help us do things like wheelchair accessibility. We have to look at some air conditioning, and it'll also go into anything that the contractor sees in the building that we should be putting money ahead. And that's why we're being prudent about having that assessment done. So that capital project is not looking at a huge capital project. What it is doing is looking at little steps to bring the building in line with what we need.
And signage. Right now it's called the Trinity Lutheran Performing Arts Center. And we'd like to try and change that, obviously.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. So I'm hoping you might be exploring some sale of some naming rights. Is that in the works or not?
We've talked about it in loose terms, but we haven't nailed down anything. We weren't in a position to talk naming rights until
September.
Today. But yes, I would expect that we will look at naming rights.
Councillor Jacobson.
Sure, just a question for clarification, because I kind of got a hint of this in the presentation, and if you covered it, I apologize. So you say the former owner is still using the room, like the fireside room?
Right, so they're using it, they have to set up every Sunday and take down every Sunday so that they do have the use of one office still, and they use the fireside room. They have to book it like any other renter would, so it comes through me as a booking.
Okay, and do they pay for that room?
No, so that's part of their mortgage agreement, was that they're able to continue on as a congregation for free of charge in the space.
Okay, and does that expire after a certain period of time?
It's 1 year. We're able to look at the lease renewal again in 1 year.
Okay, so they got rent free for a year essentially.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
That's right, and that agreement is reviewable after 1 year. That's
Yeah.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
So if we, Councillor Jacobson, for us, it's not a big deal on Sunday morning to offer them the opportunity to continue to hold their church services there. They treated us really, really well, and we felt it was a small thing we could do to pay them back and show our support for their 60 years that they've had a church here in Lacombe. So, like I say, Sunday morning if it was a Saturday evening, it might be a different story, but Sunday morning certainly doesn't impact us too greatly.
Anyone have any additional questions or require any clarification? Councillor Gillespie.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. Just the one item there, the 8,400 into the theater improvements. That's unused. It says it's unused portion of capital reserve.
That's if we don't use the 8,400, like the total 8,400 in the budget, we would put it into the capital reserve.
Okay.
I'm foreseeing that we probably will, especially for 2020. We just finished purchasing a new sound equipment in the theater. And we also, as we go into the building, we'll start to realize what sort of things that we need, say for the kitchen or for some of our rooms, which the church either has taken with them, that type of thing. So I would assume that for 2020, that we will be using all of that. But anything that is not used will go into the capital reserve.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Ross?
You get a budget of 20,000 for music in the park. How many weeks is music in the park?
Typically 14.
Sometimes 13, sometimes 14. Every band is paid. We don't allow them to play for free.
That music in the park is basically a break-even program. You know, I think we've made over the 8 or 7 years, we've probably made about $6,500, so less than $1,000. But that's not keeping in all our expenses, but basically it's a break-even program for us.
And certainly this year was not a break even because of the weather. It's very weather contingent. Thank goodness we had a few nice days, and a few of the nice days were on the days where we had the most expensive bands, so that worked out well too. So.
One last opportunity for questions. That's it. Thank you both very much for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Look forward to your answer.
I believe that's all the presentations that we had for this evening. Item number 7 in camera, I don't believe that we had any. But in lieu of that, we'll just do a couple of community-related events. Some of it you mentioned prior to the meeting that we should have an indication on. Councillor Goldson, was there a couple?
I just was wondering if the city had a table at the Chamber of Commerce Awards banquet.
No, I don't believe we do. Deb, do we have a table to the Chamber of Commerce?
Not that I'm aware of, so I would say no.
No.
Okay, so
We can get,
Could I just have an indication from councillors who would like to attend that event?
what is it?
26th, this Saturday.
I'll take 2 tickets.
Rec board conference in Lacombe.
Oh, darn.
Gee, that's too bad.
Hey, you made number 2.
So, Councillor Ross, yes or no?
Sure.
No.
So, 2, 4, 6.
I have to check the almighty calendar at home. This calendar is done.
So 6. October the 26th, Saturday?
Possibly, I don't have to check.
I'm a possible, I don't know.
So we'll get it. Councillor Jacobson?
He's gone. He's in.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, you're gone. You're toughing out Lake Louise, okay. So yeah, that's 7, so we should probably, I believe that there's room for 2 more, although I am 7th, so.
Because usually it's at 8, right?
Very good. And then there was, so you could perhaps let Director Juke know if in fact you do tickets and we'll figure something out. There was another event, this provincial event that's held here in Lacombe. Schizophrenia awareness fundraiser.
Yeah, I've already purchased tickets for us to go. Yeah, so there's.
So just so that everyone knows that is coming up, the date for that one is
19th.
The week before, I believe, the 19th. Yeah, just so you know what's available.
Thanks, Mayor. Quick question though, I mean, I sit on the chamber, but did we ever receive an email inviting us? Like the Schizophrenia Society invited all of us? I guess I'm just...
So just for clarity, there was an invitation for myself to present an award that evening, and I did circulate, I believe that item was circulated to council, if not, my apologies, but I thought that it was.
I don't think so. I'm just gonna...
I know that they would certainly be thrilled if we had a table and attended. So is there anything else? The next meeting dates that we have on here is for next week, the 15th is our regular council meeting. And then our regular council meeting followed by the organizational meeting on October 28th. Before warrant. Councillor Hoopstruck?
Another question. Is there any interest in moving us from different committees to different committees for the organizational meeting?
I think that's a very polite way of suggesting that there's somewhere that you would.
No, it just came up at Carts, because I'm the only one at Carts that has sat there forever, and then, I didn't say that out loud. I'm the only one who's been there the whole 2 years, and so everybody said, but we all move from committee to committee so that we learn what other, the intricacies of each committee. So I think that should be considered. I'm not saying that we all have to move every single one, but.
Which is fine. So, just so there's no misunderstanding, I would say that it was out loud and it'll be recorded on the YouTube channel, but that's not a problem. If anyone has any thoughts that they would prefer to use their skill set elsewhere, or for whatever reason want to change their appointments to boards and committees, I would be open to hearing from anyone. Does that answer your question? Very good. So I think that's it, other than the only other motion that we can have. And it is now 7:20.
I move that.
Councilor Hoopstruck moves for adjournment. All those in favor, I'm assuming? Thank you very much for attending. We'll see you next week. Well, we didn't have it.
I missed it.